Hello YouTube, my name is Hans and welcome to my channel and to this episode of Darktable Insights. This is an introduction to Darktable, one of the best free tools for organizing and editing your photos. Today I'm going to show you some of the details of the Darktable interface. So come on, let's go! So, here we have another image of the Corbière lighthouse, like we had last week. Today I'm going to show you those little tiny little buttons we have all around the interface, and also about something about blending and blend modes and different ways to make local adjustments. So we start off in the exposure module. In most of the modules we have these adjustment sliders that we can adjust by dragging them to each side, like this. And in this special case of exposure, there's another way to adjust the exposure, and that's directly in the histogram. You can drag this right hand part of the histogram. Just click and drag the histogram and you adjust the exposure. Do the same thing on the left part and you're adjusting the blacks. Then back to the sliders again. If you think that you don't have enough fine control when you drag the slider, there's an easy way to do it. You can right click on the slider, then this scale appears, and you can drag your mouse down to the bottom of this scale, then you have much finer control when you drag to the sides or further up, depending on how much control you want. And just click the button to release it. And then the other thing you can do is to use your keyboard to write in exact values. Just right click on the slider again and you see this cursor appearing out here, so you can just start typing. Let's say I want to reset to 0, type 0, enter, and there it is at 0. You can also reset it by double clicking. Now let's use the tone curve module for some more examples. I'll take a look at these small things up here. First one is like a power button to turn the module on and off. When you first make an adjustment in a module like this, it automatically turns on. So then you can use this button to compare before and after. This is before and this is after. Then the next little thing is a preset menu. Click it, and in some modules there are presets that are there from the beginning. And if they're not there, then you can make your own. Just click Store New Preset, and then you can give your preset a name. Like this. Hit enter. No, you cannot hit enter, and click OK. Then you go back in here and you have your own preset here. So now we have high contrast. We have linear, which is basically nothing, but it's got 4 points here that you can adjust as you want. We have a low contrast, medium contrast, and our own test. You can also delete the preset, and you can edit the name of it if you're not satisfied with the name. Next up is the reset button. It just resets the whole module. And the last one is a button to make copies of or new instances of this module. So let's say you have made a curve like this, and then you need another curve. You can click on this little button and you can make a new empty one, or you can duplicate this one. So we'll make a new one. It gets the name Tone Curve 1, and now it takes the old module as input. Then you can do your thing on top of that again. And the good thing is that since this is non-destructive, if we reset this, you see the sky is completely washed out by the previous module, but now we can get all that back again if we should want to. So nothing is destroyed. We can also alter the order of those modules, so we can move it down, make it appear before the other one, if that makes a difference, or we can delete it. Now there's only this one. So let's reset this module again and close it. We'll go back to exposure, I think, and we'll take a look at blending. Blending is different ways of making local adjustments in the image. Actually, you can use blending also on the whole image. If you choose to blend uniformly like this, then all we get is a blend mode and an opacity slider. And what is blended is the input and output of the module. So with blend mode normal, the output of the module is all we see, and then we can adjust the opacity. Now in and out is the same, so obviously we don't see anything. But say we adjust the exposure down. So now this is the output. We reduce the opacity, then we reduce the effect of the module. Opacity 0 is the same as resetting the whole module. Okay. Also we have blend modes, a whole long list of them, which is the same as blend modes on the layers in Photoshop. So of course we can use those without any other adjustments as well. Say we choose multiply. We multiply the input and the output, and the result is a darker image. Or we can use addition. It adds the input and output, makes everything the double of itself. Adjust the opacity to adjust the effect. I think the most useful blend modes to use in this way is multiply to make things dark. It's screen to make things bright. And it's overlay to just increase contrast. And we can, if it's too much, we can reduce the opacity. So that was uniform blending. Then we have drawn mask. Choose that and we get some new options here. Right now there's no mask, but we can use a brush, circle, ellipse, path, or a gradient. Say I want to use a circle. I click on the circle and then I click in the image where I want to place the circle. Now whatever I do in this module will be done inside this solid circle, and the area between the solid and the dotted circle is the gradient. We can turn on the mask to see what we're doing. The yellow area is what's affected. So now I can scroll my mouse wheel to reduce or increase the size. I can hold down Shift and scroll to reduce the softness. And I can also hold down Control and scroll to adjust opacity. So if you turn off the mask again and turn off this little thing, then the outline disappears and it's easier to see what we're doing. So now I can reduce the exposure in the middle. That's the circle, and the same thing goes for ellipse. It's more or less the same thing, it's just an ellipse. Like this, you have 4 control points, so you can control the shape of the ellipse. And you can also hold down Control, grab one of the points, and then you can rotate it like this. If you want to delete a shape you have used, then you just hold the mouse over the outline and you right click. Boop! There it's gone. So I can delete this one as well. And we can show a brush. Here we have the brush. You see it's like a circle, but when you drag it, click and drag, you get this mask like this. Just mask out an area here, paint it on, release it, and you get this mess. But if you can do the same thing here. You can edit the curve by grabbing the points. Those points are automatically set, but you can move them around, and you can also grab this little thing here, which is quite difficult, but then you can adjust the curvature in that point. So we have very fine control. And also it's the same thing about the softness and opacity. So if you get rid of the outline and you drag the controls, obviously it's not very useful with that shape, but you get the idea. Go into edit mode again, and you can increase the softness. That's in the brush. I find that this softness control isn't very good. So what I normally do is to use the mask blur, which seems to be better. Quite a heavy mask blur, and then you have a nice soft edge. All the way up. Oh, it's very nice. So we'll get rid of that shape, and we'll reset the exposure. Next one is a path, which is like a freeform area. So you just click to set points, and then you get this nice outline just the way you want it, like this. And to stop adding points, you right click, and there you have it. So This one is often very, very useful. And the last one is the one we used last week, the gradient. Now when you have a vertical image, the gradient is applied vertically. So most of the time you need to flip it around about 90 degrees to be able to affect the upper part of the image, like a gradient filter in the camera. Hold Shift and scroll to increase the softness. And there we have a one-stop soft grad. Just drag these points here to rotate. Drag the mouse out to get more control. Okay, that was drawn masks. We'll delete that again, reset. Now it's time to look at the parametric mask, which is very powerful and one of Darktable's real strengths. This is quite cryptical, but this is the input into the module and this is the output. Normally we only adjust the input because then we have more control. So let's say we want to isolate the sky or the lighter areas. It's easier to see if we turn on the masking. If we now drag this control upwards, you can see what's happening. The mask, oh yeah, we have the mask blur at 100. That's not what we want now. Set it back to 0. Now we get a sharp mask based on the luminance. And if we now separate those two rectangles, we get a softer transition. So everything that's black and white will not be affected. Everything that's solid yellow will have the full effect of the module, and everything that's in between will get some effect. So if you now turn off the mask, drag the exposure down, then we're only affecting the sky. And here we are. All these letters here are different channels that we can use for isolation. So now we have the gray value or luminance channel. So it's goes from black to dark. We can also use the red channel, the green, the blue, the hue, saturation and luminance. I don't really know the difference between luminance or gray, except that the luminance channel goes from 0 to 100 and the gray value goes from 0 to 255. So we have final control here. So let's say we want to isolate the green bush here, or the green plants here on the steps, and change the color of them. Obviously we can't do that in the exposure module, so we'll go somewhere else. We'll pull up a new module. Let's go to the color zones. That's one I use quite much. And now we'll try the parametric mask. can zoom in on this area by middle clicking in the image. That'll zoom us into 100%. And now if we use this eyedropper here down in the in this masking area, enable that and click on the green, then we have this line here which indicates the values of this color. So this module operates in the LAB color space, not RGB, as exposure does. So this line is the lightness value, and the values in the A and B channels, and also in the chroma channel. This is the saturation, and the hue. You see it's here around the green area. So what we can do now is to turn on show the mask, and everything gets yellow. But now we can move these controls like this, and we block out all the other colors. So just move them as close to the line as possible. Here we're starting getting somewhere. Like this. We can also go into the lightness module, lightness channel, to see if we can. Yeah, that's a bit too much. You can see there's some plant parts here. See if we can just soften it out. No. Thereabout. Chroma. Take the less saturated parts. That's a lot of it around the steps and so on. There's green noise and whatever. So I just soften it off like this. And then what we can do, we can zoom out a bit with the mouse wheel and see everything that's affected, all the green. Then we can use a bit of mask blur to blur it, then it will take away much of the small dots, much of the smaller areas. We'll have to go out of the eyedropper to be able to move the image. So now if we turn off the masking, we can say adjust the hue of this green. If we want to, let's say we want to make it more yellow. It's autumn, it's not summer. So we see here is the color, and these are the points that we can adjust. So the color is between 2 points, which means that we can drag the point down here, place it on the line, then we can take this, drag it down towards yellow, and nothing happens. Why the heck not? There. Something was wrong. Let's use it. Okay. It was the eyedropper was in the wrong place, so we picked the wrong color. Take this back again. It's right on this point. So we can drag it down to what's yellow. We can also adjust saturation. So it's more or less dead. And the lightness. So, and now you see that we have done this to let's get rid of that. We have done this to everything in the image with the same color. But let's say we only wanted to do it here and not everywhere else. Then we have the last option for blending, which is drawn and parametric. Take that and we get the best of two worlds. Now we have our parametric selection, and we can also use a drawn mask. So if you take a patch and just draw around this bush like this, boom, and then the color comes back up here, while down here it's the same. Get rid of the outline, and there we are. So that was a quick walkthrough of some of the most important features of the interface. These things I talked about today, you find them everywhere. Like the blending options you find in almost every module. There are some modules that don't have it, like white balance, but most of them have it. And also these buttons on the top. That's all for today. I hope you learned something from this, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Next time I'll show you different ways to import your photos and tag and organize them. What's your favorite way to organize your photos? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye!